Hello, it's Dr. Mike here again with another medical 3D printing video. Today I'm really excited to talk about an awesome new development from Embodied. If you've been following me, you know that for years I've been trying to teach people how to do medical 3D printing using free and open source software, and one of the problems has been that open source software is really confusing to use. Slicer is one of the software programs that I've talked about in my prior videos, and the options that are available to a new user are just baffling. So if you look at all these modules, these are all the possible things you can do with Slicer, and it's just really confusing. So the free and open source route is it takes weeks or sometimes even months to learn how to use the software efficiently. You can also pay for very, very expensive proprietary software, which can cost thousands of dollars in license fees per year, and that software is not really that easy to use either. But there's been a really exciting new development from Embody that I want to talk to you about today, and that is this service. It's a free online service called Imaged, and what it is it's a service that allows you to upload a CT scan and then get a 3D printable bone model from that CT scan with just a few clicks, and you have to wait about 10 minutes. It's really revolutionary in terms of the amount of time that it saves. So I'd like to go over that today. If you haven't already, go to www.embodied.com, embodi3d.com, and register for an account. Takes about a minute to do if you don't already have an Embodied account here. I'll open up a new account. I'll show you how you can open up a new account here. You just go to the sign in or sign up button. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your CT scan, which you can, if you've had a scan done on yourself, you can go to the radiology department at your hospital and ask them for a CD or DVD that has your scan data on it. They may ask you to sign a release form. Some hospitals will ask you to pay a trivial fee to have their staff members copy your CT scan onto a disk, which shouldn't cost more than $1 or $2, but it's a little bit of a hassle. But if you've had a CT scan done, it is possible for you to get a copy of that. The CT scan is going to come in a form called DICOM, and what DICOM is it's just a bunch of as you can see here, just a bunch of individual files. There's lots of files. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of files in a typical CT scan. So this isn't really practical for transmitting on the internet, and it also has patient information, so we don't want to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is convert this DICOM data set into a file format called NRRD, and the way you're going to do that is use a software program called Slicer, which I've talked about before. Slicer can be downloaded from slicer.org, and you just click the download button and select your operating system. It's a medical, primarily it's imaging software used for research, but it's free, and it does have a really nice converter. So go ahead and open Slicer, and you're going to want to take your your CT scan, and so this is our CT scan with all the DICOM files in it, and then just drag it over and just drop it onto this window. And Slicer will ask you if you want to load it into the database. Click OK. Say you want to copy the links, and then what Slicer will do is it'll start to copy all these individual DICOM images into the Slicer database. The only reason we're doing this is we want to save this imaging study, this CAT scan, in a file format called NRRD. And NRRD is really useful because it's one file, first of all, so it's only one file to upload. But NRRD is also stripped of any patient information. So if you're using this and you're trying to make a 3D printable model, for example, from a patient CT scan, this will anonymize that data, so there's no transmission of patient data on the internet. All right, so once your DICOM study has loaded into Slicer, all we're going to do is we're going to open it and then save it as this NRD file format. Click OK. Here's our new study. Click Load. And that'll load the study in Slicer. Here's our CAT scan. And now we're just going to click this Save button in the upper left-hand corner and select a folder to save the images in. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to save it on my desktop. So uncheck all, and if you have any other lines or rows, just uncheck them. You only want this checkbox next to this file format called NRRD. And you specify the directory. So I'm going to save it to my desktop and click Save. And what will happen is the file should be saving to the desktop. And here it is. Okay, so here's our NRRD file. You can see it ends in .nrrd. Now we're going to go to Embodied, embody.com. You have to sign in if you haven't signed into your account, or if you don't have an account, go ahead and register. And from this Image tab, click Launch Application. It will ask you to drag and drop your files here, so take that NRD file that we have and just drop it right there, and it'll start to upload. Okay, so this is a 56 megabyte file, so it'll take a couple seconds to upload. There's a few things you want to enter while you're waiting for it to upload. So CT, I'm going to type in a title for this file. So it's my tutorial CT. This is a chest, abdomen, pelvis. Chest, abdomen, pelvis CT to convert to 3D printable bone file. That sounds pretty good. This is it's a decent description. Now you have we're going to be uploading this NRD file to the Embodied website, and you have the option to share this file or even sell it. But for now, we're going to, this is just for our personal purposes, so we're going to say we're not going to make it a paid file, and it's going to be private. So that means nobody else can see it other than us. Now for shared files, you have to specify a Creative Commons license. Again, we're not sharing it, although you have that option, so we'll just leave it at the default. You have to accept the terms of use. So if you haven't read the terms of use, go ahead and do that. And then turn on the imaged processing operation. So what we want is CT-NRD to bone STL. So we're going to take a CT scan in NRD format and convert that to a STL, which is a 3D printable file of the bones in that. The default threshold is 150. You can just leave it at that. If you're a radiologist or somebody who's really interested in the details, this threshold is the Hounsfield value that we're going to use for the scan. But if you don't know what that means, don't worry. Just leave it at 150. You can select low, medium, or high quality. Low quality is a little faster to process. High quality is slower but provides a larger file that has more polygons. And the output file that we're going to generate, we're going to call that a private file. We can also share it. We can declare that we want to share it right now, but we want to just keep that private. And that's it. So basically we uploaded the file, we entered in the title and a short description and checked a few things. You have to turn on the image processing tab and click Submit. So it says now you have a notification. Processing can take up to 20 minutes. You'll receive an email when it is done. Okay, well, so now all we have to do is wait. So I've created a file page for the NRD file that I uploaded, and what will happen is I'll get a notification in about 10 minutes or so that says that my file is ready. So in the meantime, I can do things that physicians do when they have a little bit of downtime, very important medical related work. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. Oh, look at those little kitties. What? Okay, that's just freaky. That's freaky. Ooh, that looks good. Hey, it's Dr. Mike here again. It's been about 10 or 12 minutes, and I received an email in my mailbox that said that my file was done and that processing had been completed. So in the email there's a link that you can follow that will take you directly to the page. You can also go, if you logged in, you can go to your profile and it should show you your files, including your newly processed file, which is right here, or you can go to the image processing tab in the downloads and you can see your file. And so right here is our NRD file that we uploaded. It was submitted 14 minutes ago, and then the process tutorial file was uploaded 7 minutes ago. So it took 7 minutes between when we click submit for the processed file to be completed. And if I click on this, you can see that there's some screenshots, which is pretty cool. So this is what was automatically generated for us in about 7 minutes. So that looks pretty good, but what we can do is download it and look at it more closely. Now, one of the things that I did was I took some time to process the same file using Slicer, using the older techniques. So I've done a variety of videos and tutorials on how to use Slicer and other freeware software programs in order to make 3D printable bone files. So what I did was I did this manually as a comparison. So I opened up our file in Slicer and I thresholded it and then exported it as an STL. I didn't do any manual cleanup. I just wanted to see to show you what the raw output of an STL file from Slicer was like compared to what we're getting with the imaged software. So here's the Slicer file that I made. We can open it up in Mesh Mixer and may take a little bit of time to open because I think there are probably going to be some errors in the mesh, and whenever there are errors it's slow to upload in Mesh Mixer. So while that's going, we can talk a little bit more about our file that we just made, which is private. You can see that the setting is private. So if we were to come to the website and look for that file it's under the image processing category, it would not be visible. So no files in this category yet. So that's exactly what we want. Our file is currently hidden. So okay, so Mesh Mixer has finished importing the manually created file, and you can see that it's kind of a mess. This is there's the CT scan table is included. All these red dots represent errors. The surface of the model is very rough. You can see that it has this rough appearance. Some of the enteric contrast, so that's the contrast that they make you drink when you have a CAT scan, is here within the small intestines and is showing up. And if you look down here in the pelvis, you can see these lines. These are the slice lines. So when the scan is made, it's a stack of slices, and you can actually see the individual slices from all of these lines. So this would represent an enormous amount of work in order to clean up to get it ready for 3D printing. Now, Slicer has an analysis and Mesh Mixer has an analysis and auto fixing function, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So we click on Inspector, and what this should do is it should highlight all of the errors, because in this view not all of the errors are shown. And wow, that's incredible. That's like thousands of errors in the mesh that need to be corrected before this is ready for 3D printing. That's really something. You can't even see the model. Each one of these little spheres represents a different kind of error. So they have an auto repair function, and we can try to auto repair that just out of curiosity to see if if Mesh Mixer is able to handle it and fix this up. Now again, this is the manually created file that I did with Slicer using the older techniques. And what we'll do is after this is done, we'll download that file that we generated automatically from the Embodied website and see how that compares. And come on, you can do it, Mesh Mixer. So there's almost 6,000 errors. That's really something. So all of these pink things I think those represent disconnected pieces. So little bits of junk in the mesh that are just kind of floating around and not connected to the rest of the mesh. Red ones are manifold defects, which means that there's a hole in the mesh, and I can't remember what the blue ones represent. Okay, almost there. Uh-oh. So Mesh Mixer has crashed. This file has too many errors for Mesh Mixer to fix, and the program has crashed. That's not good. Okay, so now we know Mesh Mixer cannot handle that that kind of file. So let's see what our newly auto-generated file looks like. So we're going to click on Download this file, and you have to agree to the terms. That's no problem. And it's about 34 megabytes. And this is a file. It's a test file that I had downloaded before I recorded this. So I'll show that in the folder. So here we go. Here's our new file. And let's drag that over to Mesh Mixer and see what happens. Okay, so this is our new file that was auto-generated for us in about 7 minutes. Looks pretty good. And if we go to the inspector, excuse me, Inspector is not actually showing that there are any errors. So it looks like this is an error-free mesh and ready for 3D printing, and the quality is pretty decent. You can see all of the neuroforamina and details of the spine. That linear artifact is not present in the pelvis. It's been smoothed out a bit. You know, it's not a perfect mesh, but given that it was free and took 7 minutes to generate, I think it's not bad. I opened the old one in Mesh Mixer also, so we can kind of get a comparison of what they look like side by side, and you can see that there's a pretty big difference. This one is ready to go. This one represents hours and hours of work in order to clean up, in order to get 3D printing. So this is why I think that the new auto-generated service from Embodied is really revolutionary, because it is such an incredible time saver, and it's free. Just upload your CT scan, and there you go. You're ready to 3D print. So this can be sent directly to a 3D printer and imported into the printer software, and then printed. And in a later video, what I'll do is I'll try to show you I'll actually try to 3D print this and show you what it looks like. Okay, one other thing I'd like to talk about is now that we've got this really beautiful 3D printable file, we can share it with the rest of the Embodied community by just going down here and changing it from private to share and save it. And so if you are interested in coming to the Embodied website and downloading this actual file, you can go ahead and do that. And I can actually I can change a lot of things by going to the Edit File button. I can choose which thumbnail I want. I already changed it to shared. I'm going to change my license to non-commercial because I don't necessarily need other people selling this file. But you can also make this a paid file if you're interested in it, and if it's something very special to you and you don't want to share it for free, you want to try and sell it, that's fine. You can set a price, and you know, people can buy this on PayPal. About 85% of the price goes to you, and there's a small transaction fee. But most of the revenue goes to you, if you're so inclined. But for this file, I want to give it away to the community for free, so I'm going to select free, and then I'm going to click Save. And I'll put a link below in the description so that if you want to go directly to this file and download it, you can go ahead and do so. And in fact, I'm going to also share the original NRRD file, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the details on that one and make that available for everyone as well. So we'll say share that, and let's see, I don't need to reprocess it, so I'm going to turn off image processing because I don't need to reprocess it. This is our NRD file, and save. So I'll put a link for that below, and if we go to the website, and I'm going to use an incognito browser, and those files should be visible now to somebody who's there we go. So yeah, so now it's shared and publicly available, and of course I would encourage everybody to share your work with the community. Of course, the more files that we have available, the more we can help each other. So there we go. The new Embodied imaged automated 3D printable bone creation service is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you are into making 3D printable models from medical CT scans, you definitely have to check this out. Thank you very much. I hope you found that this video was helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll put in the description links to the output STL files, the NRD files, and actually, you know, I'll also upload the original DICOM dataset so that you can go through this tutorial on your own using the exact same files that I did for that I use here. So thank you very much, and happy 3D printing.